What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Celio's Network. Today, I'm going to take a look at some expanded format tournament results from play.limitlesstcg.com and just kind of give a light overview of what the Battle Styles expanded format has been looking like online for PTCGO. Now, do keep in mind that I think this format is being a bit underexplored. I know myself, I'm really not focusing or even touching expanded format very much because everything that I'm doing is in standard format right now. But if there was a real life circuit of events going on, I think the expanded format could look a little different than it currently does. With that being said, we'll look at the results that have been happening on Play Limitless and give a little bit of an overview on the decks, what they look like, what they do, and what to expect to play against in these expanded format tournaments online. Before we do that, though, shout out to Potown Store, the best place to get PTCGO codes, and be sure to use code CELIO for 5% off over at PotownStore.com. Also, make sure you subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content, and leave a like and a comment because it does help me reach new viewers. So here we're looking at Limitless Online Series Weekly number 26, and I have a list of expanded format tournaments here on play.limitlesstcg.com if you want to see these results for yourself, so you can copy deck lists and stuff. Just go to play.limitlesstcg.com and then tournaments and then click completed like I have here. And then if you want expanded, you can choose expanded. So let's start with this one on April 16th, a little less than a month ago. The Limitless Online Series Weekly number 26 with 201 people. So a fairly sizable event with Dragapult Garbodor winning it. Taking a look at the metagame, I think the top represented decks here are pretty much the focus of what you should know about going into this format. Of course, down here we've got Wallstall, which is a deck to know about, but it's typically not that popular. Eternatus, also typically not that popular. Roxy Chomp or Garchomp Giratina can be popular sometimes depending on what people decide to play. And Mewtwo and Mew and Turbo Dark are also some other decks that are popular. But once we get down past the decks, like the top deck, I guess, Pikarom, everything else is kind of close in popularity. So just to take a brief look at what Pikarom looks like in the expanded format, we'll open up the image here. So Pikarom gains a lot of old tools back in the expanded format. It has Electro Power, Thunder Mountain, and Max Elixir being some of the big ones. It also has alternate attackers like Marshadow GX to copy Pikarom's attack on a fighting attacker, which is good against fighting weak Pokemon like Pikarom itself, Eternatus, Snorlax VMAX. And then Clefairy can hit Fairy weakness, which is good against ADP in the ADP-Z decks. Mew can also copy the attacks of Pikarom as a single prize Pokemon, which can be useful. And some lists choose to use this Electros. Because it is an evolution Pokemon, it can get around walls that cannot be hit by basic Pokemon. So this is a really good example, actually, of what a typical Pikarom list will look like in the expanded format. Next here we have Mad Party, so let's take a look at the highest placing Mad Party list from this tournament, which honestly was not that high placing. It only went 5 and 3. So Mad Party is kind of just like better Night March and expanded. And Mad Party actually doesn't play any Sinistea, so Poltegeist just never gets evolved. It's all about battle compressing everything away and just attacking for the maximum damage you can. So it's pretty much built like Night March used to be, except we've just replaced the Night Marchers with the Mad Partiers because there's more Mad Partiers. Pokemon Ranger for ADP, and also for things that will stop us from attaching special energy. Mad Party also has access to double colorless energy in this format, as well as special charge to get the double colorless and twin energies back. So it gets some buffs here and there, but there's also more things that can restrict you in this format, like item lock and special energy lock, etc. So there's Mad Party, not a deck that I typically think of as one of the top decks in expanded, but it seems like it's been popular, so something to be aware of. Togekiss VMAX I know did well in one of the other tournaments, so we'll wait until we go look at one of the other tournaments to get a higher placing Togekiss list to look at. Eggrow Rillaboom with Vileplume. This has been around for quite a while now in expanded format. Oh, Eggrow, Rillaboom, Vileplume. I'm sorry, actually, this has not been around for quite a while in expanded format. This one's a little different. This one placed high, but that's not typically what I expect to see. Rallying Rillaboom. Wow, okay, actually, Rallying Rillaboom is what's placing so high. We're all learning things today. Yeah, so Rallying Rillaboom is what is placing high. I was used to the Vileplume with the that can't be hit by basic Pokemon, but we'll see here that this version of Eggrow Vileplume is actually doing better. So you evolve up into the Rillaboom, and then you evolve up into the Vileplume. You lock items for everybody, and you're accelerating energy and swinging a bunch with Eggrow, accelerated by Rillaboom. Wow, okay, so it's not being built as a walling deck anymore, which is interesting, but let's see if there are any lists being built as a walling style deck so I can show what I'm talking about here. Here we go, Rallying Vileplume. Okay, much less popular and also performing less well. So this is what I was expecting to see, not including the Decidueye GX, which is pretty cute. But playing the Disgusting Pollen and Irritating Pollen, as well as the Decidueye, so just two different walling capabilities, plus item lock, plus healing, and Eggrow to accelerate the evolutions, of course. So that's more along the lines of what I was expecting, but it seems that Eggrow Rillaboom has become popular. Dragapult Garbodor, also known as Trashalanche. We'll open up this image gen here. So this focuses on using a Dragapult VMAX early to spread damage around, and then you try to clean up with either Garbodor Trashalanche or just another Dragapult, I'm sorry. And all the while you're locking abilities with Garbodor, Garbatoxin, so hopefully you slow your opponent down enough that Max Phantom Max Phantom can spread enough damage around and take knockouts on its own. But if it cannot, like I said, Trashalanche racks up a ton of damage, doing 20 damage for each item in your opponent's discard pile. So yeah, Dragapult Garbodor actually won this tournament. Moving on, we've got Rapid Strike Urshifu, which these lists are probably all going to vary a lot because Urshifu was new. Urshifu's still new. So this list is pretty interesting because it runs two of the Rapid Strike Search Octillery to get out your Rapid Strike energies, your Rapid Strike Stadium, Fan of Waves, and of course your Urshifu's himself. And it also runs the Abyssal Hand Octillery since you're already using the Remoraid. So that's pretty cool. And this list did pretty well, going 8-2, I believe. Yeah, and it also uses Wide Lens, which this is very awesome. So Wide Lens is a tool card a lot of you might not be familiar with because it is pretty old. Wide Lens says damage from the attacks of the Pokemon this card is attached to is affected by weakness and resistance for your opponent's benched Pokemon. And you'll see this hasn't been played since 2018. So yeah, this tool card allows Rapid Strike Urshifu to hit things like Dedenne and Crobat for weakness on the bench with Gmax Rapid Flow. So that's a really awesome inclusion in here and really cool to see it working in the present day since it's such an old tool. And we got Snorlax Stall. This is a pretty strong stall deck. It's basically just countered by like switches and escape ropes and things like that, since Snorlax has the block ability that says while it's active the defending Pokemon can't retreat. So you just try to wall something up there and not have a bench so they can't Guzma out, and if they don't play like AZ, switch, escape rope, things like that, they can't get that Pokemon out of there. So a pretty simple kind of like stall deck, but it is still strong if people are not teching for it. And last here, we'll look at ADPZ for this tournament, then we'll go on to look at other results. So ADPZ, not the most exciting thing you could play in Expanded. This list you'll see is kind of similar to a standard list in its Pokemon lineup. Even some standard lists now are playing Mew. You can play a split of Guzma and Boss's Orders in this, and also Guzma Hala is very good and expanded for this because you have double dragon energy. So double dragon energy provides 2 energy of any kind to a dragon Pokemon. Of course, ADP is a dragon Pokemon, so you can just use Alter Creation for the full effect for a single energy attachment, and Guzma Hala helps you get that. Guzma Hala can also get you the Float Stone, so you can get the Zacian or whatever you started with out, and then go into the ADP. And the Tag Call gets you both Guzma Hala and ADP. So ADP is even faster and possibly more consistent in the expanded format, but it also comes with the caveat that it can be countered by Pokemon Ranger, which some decks do choose to play. Looking at the other results, we'll go and look at the Limitless Weekly 27 from April 24th. Now this one was won by Eternatus, which we saw was not very popular in the previous one. Looking at this Eternatus list, we'll see that the Pokemon lineup is quite similar to what we know in Standard, except for the Darkrai GX. So the Darkrai GX has the ability Restoration. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon is in your discard pile, you may put it onto your bench, then attach a Dark Energy from your discard pile to this Pokemon. So the ability allows you to get the Darkrai from the discard and attach an energy. So what that does is it adds damage to your Eternatus' attack because you're putting a Pokemon from discard to bench to have an extra bench dark Pokemon, as well as you're accelerating an energy. And you can use Dead End GX because some of these lists do choose to play Hypnotoxic Laser, which this list does choose to play. So you can restore, attach return, use Dark Patch, Hypnotoxic Laser, and then Dead End GX reads if your opponent's active Pokemon is affected by a special condition, that Pokemon is knocked out. So you can get an instant knockout with Darkrai GX's GX attack, and the rest of the game you just focus on attacking with Eternatus VMAX for 270. Potentially even 300 with Leon, 310 with Hypnotoxic Laser. And what else did we have do well in this one? We had some Pikarom, some Togekiss, which I said we would look at here. So this Togekiss list is very interesting. It's kind of cool. It's a greens list that just plays a 4/4 line of Togekiss VMAX. And 8 energy just to attack with Togekiss VMAX for the max glide attack, 120, search your deck for any 2 cards. It's cool because this should just be absolutely ruined by N and Marnie, but Expanded doesn't really play Marnie too much, and a lot of lists only play one N to just Versus Seeker it back, but N doesn't even hurt that bad. If you max glide 120, search for 2 cards, you get a new hand of 6 cards. That's not that bad compared to Marnie, where it puts the cards you had at the bottom and then you only draw 4. So this is a deck that can really take advantage of item ability locking stadiums like Silent Lab and Power Plant, because it's not playing any abilities itself, just playing that Greens engine. Cheryl is really cool for this deck, and you can just get rid of all of your energy and special charge them back. It does only play one Cheryl, but you play Versus Seeker in this deck, so... and 2 Lusamine, of course, so you can just Lusamine loop Silent Lab Cheryl or Cheryl Lusamine after you're out of Versus Seeker. So pretty cool deck. It looks kind of linear since you're just attacking with Togekiss VMAX, but the attack gives you a lot of options to search out, and you have a lot of utility supporters in here like the Cheryl and Acerola to heal, but also Flare Grunt and Faba for removal, and Team Rocket's Handiwork to mill your opponent potentially. So I do think that's one of the cooler decks in Expanded right now. Like I mentioned, Roxy Chomp won Dallas Regionals back when we were still having in real life events. This is a bit of a different one with the Exeggutor as opposed to the Noivern GX that we're used to seeing. But this list has not changed very much at all. Aside from the Vikavolt V, I think the Vikavolt V might be the only thing added to this list in recent months. Yeah. Everything else here has existed for the entirety of this deck existing. Like I said, the Blockade Exeggutor, which swings for 10 and your opponent can't play a supporter next turn, that's not a typical inclusion as far as I know. At least it was not in the original Roxy Chomp. But the point of this deck is you use Roxy to discard Coughings to spread damage around and draw yourself cards, and then you swing with Giratina Garchomp for just a double dragon plus Coco. you swing 240, 260 with a muscle band down, and then that's also plus the 10 or 20 damage you spread with the coughing. And Propagate Execute is really good because it allows you to always have a target Pokemon to discard when you're using Roxy. Vikavolt's Item Lock is good against single prize decks like Mew Box and Mad Party. I'm honestly not too sure what the Executor is there for. It could be there for control, to stop them from playing supporters. I'm really not sure, because this is the first I've seen of the Executor being in the deck. And the Naganadel Guzzlord can just take 2 prizes with the Chaotic Order GX attack, so that can be a good finisher sometimes. Wall Stall, this is kind of like attacking stall because it has the Pyroar, swings 60 and can't be hit by basic Pokemon. This deck is very intricate to play because there's so many options. This is a deck that I enjoy in Expanded. You have the walling capabilities of Pyroar, Altaria, and Hoopa. Lugia GX can send something to the Lost Zone. Bunnelby and Durant mill your opponent. Watch and Learn can knock things out with counter energy. Snorlax stops your opponent from retreating with block. Girafarig Lost Zones things from your opponent's discard pile. It's a very interesting deck with so many different possibilities, and I do think it has a super high skill ceiling, so it's pretty rewarding to play. We'll check out another Urshifu list, see if this is the same. Yeah, this is quite similar to the other one we saw. Let's go down a little, see if there's any other Urshifu lists being played. Here we have Rahul Reddy played 1 to 32nd place, and it's the same kind of build. The 2 new Octillery, 1 old Octillery. Okay, so that looks like the way people are all playing it in Expanded. And Turbo Dark. We didn't look at Turbo Dark. So Turbo Dark is a deck that has been around forever, as long as Darkrai EXs have been around. It's changed quite a lot over the years. Now we have Greninja Zoroark as the main attacker. You also have Mewtwo and Mew as an alternate attacker to copy Greninja Zoroark. But basically, this just does more damage for every dark energy you get into play. And you can get a lot of dark energy into play between Max Elixir and Dark Patch and the Darkrai GX with Restoration. So this is a very just like vomit energy onto the board and hit your opponent for max damage to the face kind of deck. There's not a ton of versatility within the deck. You do have the Dead End GX from Darkrai, you have the Greninja Zoroark to attack with, you have the Mewtwo and Mew GX to attack with, but this Turbo Dark list, there can be some dark toolbox type of decks with Weavile GX and Baby Guzzlord and other attackers from time to time popping up, but this one is very much more straightforward and just does aggressive damage, and that's its main goal. So I think we got a pretty good look at what the expanded format looks like. That's kind of the overall view of what the expanded format looks like right now with Battle Styles out. I don't think this one added too much. Okay, yeah, we can look at this Mewtwo and Mew box. That's the only thing different in the Sunday Open expanded top decks. So the Mewtwo box, basically, think standard, but there's so many more options, and you can also copy EX attacks with Mewtwo and Mew GX. So you're copying Noivern to either lock items or lock special energy because it has both of those capabilities in its attacks. Giratina Garchomp to do big damage. Mewtwo and Mew EX damage change can heal and damage your opponent at the same time. Mega Gardevoir EX can do damage and clear your bench of things that your opponent wants to snipe, like your Dedennes and your Crobat V. Greninja GX goes through attacks. And of course you have Dimension Valley in Expanded, which is a really big deal. So I'm glad I did decide to click on this and show you guys. Dimension Valley reads each psychic Pokemon's attacks cost 1 colorless less. So this is a really big deal for Mewtwo and Mew tag team in in the expanded format that you have Dimension Valley. So now I think we have a very good overview of what the expanded format looks like with Battle Styles. So like I said, you can find all this information for yourself and more at play.limitlesstcg.com. Just go to tournaments, then completed, then filter for expanded, and you can copy and import these lists directly to your PTCGO if you want to try them out for yourself. If you need packs, I suggest buying Battle Styles packs and then trading for the cards you need, and you can get those packs over at PotownStore.com. Best place to get PTCGO codes. Make sure to use code Celio for 5% off. Be sure to subscribe to this channel for daily Pokemon TCG content if you have not already, and thank you for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time here on Celio's Network.